Jack was finally done for the day. The long shifts at the alien space station were tiring. He walked back to his small room, rubbed his eyes, and yawned. His back hurt, his legs were sore, and most of all, his mind was tired. This place, floating, far from Earth, was quiet and strange. He hadn't spoken to another human in weeks. The alien species on this station, the Yllari, were tall, graceful, and serious. They didn't talk much, and when they did, they used short sentences with no emotion. Jack respected their ways but couldn't connect with them. He missed laughter, missed home, missed warmth. He opened his room door, walked in, and sat on the bed. The lights were dim. Outside the small window, stars moved slowly past. Jack took off his boots, lay back, and pulled the thin blanket over himself. He closed his eyes. Sleep started to come. Then he felt it. The mattress shifted beside him. His eyes opened at once. His heart jumped. Someone had just climbed into his bed. Jack turned his head slowly and saw her. A tall figure with glowing blue skin, soft silver hair, and long arms was lying beside him. She looked calm, her eyes already closed. It was Liara, one of the Yllari envoys. She was important, respected, and always quiet during meetings. She never looked at Jack for more than a second. And now, she was in his bed. Jack couldn't speak. His mouth stayed open, but no words came out. His hands stayed frozen above the blanket. Was this a dream? He looked around the room. It was his. His bag in the corner, his uniform folded on the chair, the data pad blinking on the desk. This was real. Liara? Jack whispered. No answer. You're in my bed. Still no answer. Jack slowly moved to sit up, but she placed one hand gently on his chest. Not hard. Not with force. Just a quiet touch, like saying, "Don't move." He lay back again. His heart beat faster. What was going on? But she didn't speak. Didn't even open her eyes. She just lay there, breathing slowly, her body relaxed. Jack stared at the ceiling for minutes, maybe hours. He couldn't sleep. Every time he moved even a little, her hand would press lightly again, like she was reminding him to stay still. Was this some alien custom? Maybe he broke some rule? Maybe this was normal to her. He thought about getting up and calling command, but he didn't want to make things worse. What if this was a cultural thing? What if leaving the bed would be seen as rude? He sighed and stayed there, eyes open. Morning came too fast. The station lights slowly brightened as the system started a new cycle. Jack turned to look. Liara was already standing near the door, fixing her uniform. Her silver hair glowed in the soft light. She looked at him once. No emotion on her face. Then she left. No words, no goodbye. Jack sat up, still confused. He went through his duties that day, but his mind stayed stuck on the night. He saw Liara in the meeting room. She stood tall, spoke in her usual calm voice. She didn't even glance at him. Was he supposed to ask her about it? Did anyone else know? He watched the other Yllari. They didn't act strange. No one seemed to notice anything wrong. When Jack tried to talk to her during a break, Liara simply walked away. That night, he sat on the edge of his bed for a long time, staring at the door, waiting. His heart beat louder than it should. Maybe she wouldn't come. Maybe it was just one night. But just as he was about to lie down, the door opened. Liara stepped in, said nothing, walked to the bed, lay down beside him. Jack didn't speak. She didn't speak. Like before, her hand rested gently over his chest. This time, Jack didn't move. He just stared at the ceiling again, wondering what it all meant. Jack woke up the next morning with stiff shoulders and tired eyes. He hadn't slept much again. Liara had left quietly before the station's lights brightened, just like the night before. He sat on the edge of his bed and rubbed his face. What is going on? He whispered to himself. This wasn't normal. Not for humans, at least. He tried to make sense of it, but no answer came. And Liara gave him nothing. She acted like it never happened. During the morning briefing, Liara stood across from him. She looked focused, eyes reading the screen with her usual calm face. She didn't even blink in his direction. Jack tried not to stare, but it was hard. His mind was full of questions. When the meeting ended, he followed her out. "Liara," he said softly, trying to be respectful. She paused, turned her head slightly. "Yes, human, can I ask you something?" He stepped closer. "About last night?" She tilted her head, her silver hair catching the station light. "I needed rest." Jack blinked. "Okay, but why, my bed?" She looked at him for a long second. "Your room was safe." And with that, she walked away. Jack stood there, confused more than before. What did she mean? Safe? From what? The station was secure. There hadn't been a single threat in months. And why did she act like everything was fine? He spent most of his free time that day scrolling through files about Yalari culture. He searched for customs about sleep, rest, bonding, or emotional needs. Nothing explained what she was doing. The files talked about meditation chambers, long periods of silence, and their need for personal space. But not shared sleeping. Jack leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. Maybe she was going through something. Maybe this was personal. Not cultural, but he had no way of knowing unless she told him. That night, he ate alone in the mess hall. A few Yalari walked past him, gave polite nods, then returned to their meals. He missed human company, missed someone who spoke like he did, laughed like he did. On Earth, he could joke about something strange like this. Here, he felt like he was the joke. After dinner, he returned to his room. Part of him wanted to lock the door. Not because he felt unsafe, but because he didn't know what to do. But another part of him waited. And just like before, the door opened without warning. Liara walked in, silent and calm. She moved straight to the bed, lay beside him, and closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed as she drifted into sleep. Jack lay still. This time, her hand didn't rest on his chest, but her shoulder touched his slightly, just enough to feel warm. He turned his head toward her. "You don't say much," he whispered. She didn't move. Jack sighed and looked back at the ceiling. "I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to push you away." He didn't sleep well, but at least he felt less confused. Maybe she needed this. Maybe he needed it too. The next few days followed the same pattern. She came at night, stayed in silence, and left in the morning. No one else mentioned anything. No alarms, no gossip. It was like the universe had made their nights invisible. Then one morning, she surprised him. She stayed. When Jack opened his eyes, Liara was still there, sitting at the edge of the bed, watching the small window. The stars moved slowly outside. "Good morning," Jack said, sitting up. "Did you dream?" she asked without turning. He blinked. "What?" "Humans dream during rest." "Did you dream?" I think so," he replied, still confused. "Why?" She turned toward him now. Her voice was quiet. "I don't. When I sleep near you, I don't see the dark anymore." Jack didn't understand all of it, but her tone said enough. She wasn't just choosing his bed for fun or comfort. She was escaping something. He leaned forward. "You mean nightmares?" She nodded once. Jack hesitated, then asked gently, "Have they been happening for long?" "Since the war," she said. Her voice didn't shake, but her hands were tight on her knees. He didn't press her. He just said, "I'm glad I help." She stood up, looked at him one more time, and left. This time, He didn't feel confused. He felt honored. Jack started to see Liara differently after that morning. Her quiet presence, once strange and confusing, now felt like something important. She wasn't just an alien officer sharing a room. She was someone carrying pain, hiding it under calm eyes and steady words. That night, Jack cleaned his small room carefully. He folded his extra blanket, fixed the pillows, and even turned the room light a little softer. It wasn't much, but it felt right. When Liara entered, he greeted her with a quiet, "Hey." She nodded. No words, just her usual peaceful face. She lay beside him as always. This time, Jack didn't lie stiff like before. He relaxed, knowing she was there for something more than silence. She didn't touch him that night, but her presence was warm, steady, grounding. Jack closed his eyes and finally slept without turning every few minutes. In the morning, she was gone again, but this time, she had left something behind. A small silver stone was placed neatly on his desk. It shimmered in the light, smooth and shaped like a tear. He picked it up and turned it in his hand. Strange symbols were carved into one side. He had no idea what they meant, but he didn't need a translation. The meaning felt clear. "Thank you." Later that day, Jack found Liara near the hydroponic bay. She was checking nutrient levels with 2 other Yalari. When she saw him, she gave a slight nod. That was it. No words, no looks. But Jack smiled anyway. During lunch, she sat, closer to him than usual. She didn't say much, but she listened. When Jack told a short story from Earth about a boy who got stuck in a tree trying to save a cat, he swore he saw the edge of her lips curl slightly, almost like a smile. The sky was clear and bright as the royal ship landed in the middle of the colony. People gathered quietly, watching with hope and wonder. Zira stepped out, her armor shining in the sunlight. It was no longer just a suit of war. It was a symbol of new beginnings. Luke stood beside her, feeling proud, but calm. He had never imagined that his small workshop on a quiet planet would become the center of a galaxy's future. Zira smiled at the crowd. "I returned not as a queen who hides, but as one who leads with open hands and a hopeful heart." The townspeople cheered softly. Zira walked among them, greeting old friends and new allies. She told stories of peace she had brought to distant worlds, and of the battles that almost tore her apart. But she also spoke of the simple life she found here, of kindness, trust, and the man who fixed her armor and showed her a different way. To live, Luke helped organize a new council that included leaders from many worlds. They met to discuss how to keep the peace and build a better galaxy. Zira and Luke worked side by side. She wore armor that mixed her royal heritage with the repairs and improvements he had made. It was a symbol of their bond, between power and humility, duty and friendship. One evening, after a long day of talks and planning, they sat outside, the workshop, looking at the stars. "I never thought I would find peace," Zira said softly. "Peace is something we build," Luke replied. "One day, one choice at a time." Zira looked at him. "Thank you for helping me find my way." He smiled. "Thank you for trusting me." The galaxy was still full of dangers, but now it had new hope. A queen who led with courage and a man who fixed what was broken. Not just machines, but hearts. Together, they would face whatever came next. Not as ruler and subject, but as friends. And in that friendship, the galaxy found its greatest strength. Small things started changing. One evening she asked, "Do you eat before rest?" Jack blinked. "Sometimes." "Want to eat together?" She nodded. They shared a simple meal, dehydrated rice, rehydrated vegetables, and a fruit bar. Liara ate slowly, carefully. When Jack tried to explain how bad station food was compared to real human meals, she looked at him and asked, "What is pizza?" Jack laughed. "Something amazing. Dough, sauce, cheese, whatever you want on top. Warm and soft. You'd love it." She tilted her head. "I want to try it." "I'll make you one someday," he said with a smile. That night when she came to sleep, she said, "You didn't ask me to leave." Jack looked at her. "I won't." She stared at him quietly, then laid down beside him. For the first time, she spoke before closing her eyes. "You are the only one who doesn't fear me." Jack turned toward her. "Why would I fear you?" "Because I am not like you," she said. He thought for a moment. "That doesn't mean I should be afraid. You're kind, quiet, strong." She closed her eyes. "I killed many in the war." Jack didn't respond right away. He looked up at the ceiling, then whispered, "So did many humans. But we still move forward." Silence filled the room for a few moments. Then Liara said, "You are strange." "Thank you," Jack said with a grin. She didn't reply, but her breathing slowed. She fell asleep soon after. Jack stayed awake a little longer that night, staring at the stone she gave him now sitting on the table near the bed. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel alone on the station. He felt seen. The next morning, as they walked toward the command center, Liara walked beside him, not behind or ahead, shoulder to shoulder. It was a small detail, but others noticed. One of the human engineers raised an eyebrow. Jack just nodded politely and kept walking. He didn't care what others thought. This quiet bond between him and Liara, whatever it was, felt right. Days passed quietly on the station, but something inside Jack had changed. Liara was no longer just the strange alien who came into his room at night. She was becoming someone he trusted, someone he wanted to understand more. One afternoon, as they worked together checking the station's power systems, Liara stopped and looked at Jack. "Your people seem different from mine," she said softly. Jack smiled, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Yeah. Humans are loud, messy, and always in a rush." She tilted her head, thinking. "And yet, you bring peace here." "We try," Jack said. "Not always easy." Liara nodded. "Your strength is not in weapons. It is in your will." Jack looked surprised. "Thanks." They worked in silence for a few minutes before Liara spoke again. "Have you ever fought in a war?" Jack's smile faded. He looked at the floor. "I never went to war, but my grandfather did. He told stories about fear, loss, and hope." Liara's eyes softened. "War changes everything." "It does," Jack said quietly. That evening, they ate dinner together again. Jack shared some stories about Earth's oceans, forests, and cities. Liara listened with interest, asking questions about places she would never see. After dinner, Jack returned to his room and found Liara waiting. She sat on the edge of the bed. "May I talk?" she asked. "Of course," Jack said, sitting beside her. She took a deep breath. "The war took many from my world. My family is gone. I carry their memory and pain." Jack reached out, placing his hand gently over hers. "I'm sorry." She looked at him, eyes shining. "You do not understand how heavy this is." Jack nodded. "Maybe not, but I can listen." Liara smiled faintly. "That is more than most." They sat in silence for a moment, sharing the quiet comfort that only understanding can bring. Days later, the station received a warning. An unknown ship approached fast, its signals scrambled. The command team prepared for possible conflict. Jack and Liara stood together on the observation deck. The tension was high. "We must be ready," Liara said, her voice steady. Jack agreed. "Whatever comes, we face it together." When the unknown ship entered the station's defense range, alarms sounded. Lights flashed red. Jack's heart pounded. This was the real test, not just for their mission, but for their trust in each other. The station's weapons activated. Liara coordinated with the defense teams. Jack manned the control panel, ready to help. Suddenly, the unknown ship fired. Explosions rocked the station. Jack and Liara rushed to the damaged sections, helping. Crew members evacuate. Liara's calm and strength inspired everyone around her. As the battle continued, Jack saw Liara take a hit meant for him. She fell to the ground, pain clear in her eyes. Without hesitation, Jack carried her to safety. "Hold on," he whispered. After the attack ended, the station was damaged but secure. Medics worked fast. Jack sat beside Liara's bed in the med bay. Her eyes opened slowly. "You saved me," she said quietly. Jack smiled. "You saved me too, more than once." Liara reached out, holding his hand. "I am glad you stayed," she whispered. Jack looked into her eyes and said, "I'm not going anywhere." That night back in his room, Jack felt Liara's presence before she arrived. The door opened slowly. She stepped inside, tired but smiling. Without a word, she climbed into his bed. Jack pulled the blanket over them both. "Don't ask me to leave. Again," Liara said softly. Jack smiled. "I won't." For the first time, sleep came easily to both. After the battle, the station slowly returned to normal. Repairs were underway and the crew worked hard to fix what had been damaged. Jack and Liara found themselves growing closer with every passing day. Their nights together no longer felt strange. They felt like a safe place in the middle of the chaos. One morning, Jack was walking through the station's corridors when he heard hushed voices. He paused near the comm room and listened carefully. "Did you hear about Jack and Liara?" A voice whispered. "Yes," another replied. "It's unusual. They are from very different worlds." Jack frowned but kept moving. He wasn't interested in gossip. He cared only about Liara and their bond. Later that day, Liara approached Jack quietly. "I feel their eyes on us." Jack smiled softly. "Let them watch. We know what is real." She nodded, her silver hair catching the light. "You are different from other humans. You do not fear. And you are different from other Yllari. You care?" Liara looked at him, a rare softness in her eyes. "You make me feel safe." Jack's heart beat faster. "I feel the same." Their conversations grew deeper. They shared stories of childhood, hopes, and fears. Jack learned about Liara's love for music, a thing rare on her planet. Liara learned about Jack's dream. To see the stars up close one day, not just from a station window, but from a real ship. One evening, Jack surprised Liara by playing a simple melody on a small keyboard he had brought from Earth. The music was soft and strange to her, but she listened closely, her eyes closed. When the song ended, Liara smiled. "It is beautiful." Jack blushed. "I'll teach you more." Life on the station was not always peaceful, though. Rumors spread of political tension between Yllari leaders. Some wanted to cut ties with humans. Others feared war would return. Jack and Liara found themselves in the middle of these conflicts. They worked together to calm fears and build trust. Their partnership became a symbol of hope for both species. One day, a message arrived from Earth. Jack's tour was ending soon. He would return home. Jack felt a mix of emotions. He wanted to go home but feared leaving Liara and the station behind. He told Liara, "I don't know what to do." She looked at him sadly. "Where you go, I will. Follow if you want," Jack smiled. "Really?" "Yes," she said firmly. "You have given me something I thought lost, trust." The day before his departure, they spent hours talking and preparing for the future. That night, Liara climbed into his bed once more. "You are not just a guest anymore," Jack said softly. "And you are not just a friend," Liara replied. Jack reached for her hand. "Let's face the unknown." Together, they slept peacefully, ready to face whatever came next. The day of Jack's departure came quickly. The station was quiet, the usual hum of machines sounding softer than usual. Jack packed his few belongings slowly, his mind full of thoughts. Leaving this place and Liara felt harder than he expected. Liara watched silently as Jack folded his clothes. She did not speak much, but her eyes held a quiet sadness. Before he left, Jack took Liara's hands in his own. "I don't want this to end." "It won't," she said softly. "We have more to do." Jack smiled, feeling hope bloom in his chest. The transport ship waited at the docking bay. Jack took one last look at the station, the place that had become a second home. As the ship lifted off, he thought about the nights Liara climbed into his bed, about the silent comfort they found in each other. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew one thing: he was not alone. Back on Earth, Jack's world felt different. The busy cities and loud streets no longer overwhelmed him. He carried Liara's calm with him, a quiet strength that made him feel steady. But he missed the station, missed the stars. Months passed. Then, a message came. Liara's voice filled the room through a small communicator. "Jack, the peace talks are at risk. Tensions rise. We need your help." Jack didn't hesitate. He requested transfer back to the station. His superiors agreed, impressed by his dedication. Returning felt like coming home. Liara was there, waiting. The station buzzed with urgency. Jack and Liara worked side by side, using their trust to guide others. One night, as they rested, Liara whispered, "You saved me once. Now, we save many." Jack nodded. Together. Their bond was stronger than ever. Not just comfort or safety, but partnership. As threats grew, so did their courage. Jack realized that the nights she climbed into his bed were more than habit. They were a promise. A promise that no matter what came, they faced it together. And in that quiet room, under soft lights, Jack knew he had found something rare. Not just an alien by his side, but a home. The days turned into weeks, and peace on the station began to feel real. Jack and Liara's partnership had grown strong. They were no longer just two officers from different worlds. They were a team trusted by many. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Jack sat alone in his room. The station was quiet around him. He thought about how much his life had changed since Liara first climbed into his bed. The door opened softly. Liara stepped inside, tired but smiling. She walked over and sat beside him on the bed. "You look thoughtful," she said gently. Jack smiled. "Just thinking about how far we have come." She nodded. "And how much farther we will go." They sat together, the silence comfortable. Then Liara spoke quietly. "Do you remember the first night I came to your bed?" Jack laughed softly. "How could I forget? I was so confused." She smiled. "I was scared. I thought no one could understand me." Jack reached out and took her hand. "You were wrong. I understand you, and I care." Liara looked into his eyes. "You changed everything for me." Jack felt warmth spread through him. "You changed me too." They talked late into the night, sharing hopes and dreams. Liara told him about her desire to rebuild her world, to make peace last. Jack spoke of his wish to explore the stars, to see new worlds. Together, they made plans. Plans to work side by side, to protect peace, to build a future. Their bond was no longer a secret. The crew saw it, the leaders saw it. Some whispered, but most respected what they had. One day, during a ceremony honoring those who saved the station, Jack and Liara stood together on the stage. The commander spoke. "These two have shown us that trust and understanding can overcome any difference." Jack looked at Liara and smiled. She smiled back. After the ceremony, as the stars twinkled outside, Liara climbed into Jack's bed once more. This time, she didn't come silently. She whispered, "Stay with me." Jack pulled her close. "Always," he replied. They slept peacefully, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. And in the quiet of that room, under the watchful stars, Jack finally felt at home.